My co-parent and I share 50% physical and legal custody of our 10-year-old daughter. I'm dad. We've been broken up for 7 years now. Things have usually been pretty good between us and we make a great parenting team. However, about 8 months ago my daughter's mom got with a new partner. We've been broken up a very long time, 7 years, and she is usually very open about who she is with. But she has been in a lot of violent relationships a very long time ago. However, she has been extremely secretive about this guy. I found out when she told me that she wanted to move into his home with our daughter about 100 miles away from where she currently is. My daughter goes to school in my school district and they had only been together for 6 weeks at the time. So I said she is free to move wherever she wants, but I would not approve changing my daughter's school. She did not take this well at all. She called me crying the next day saying that this partner who she says she was extremely in love with would leave her if they did not move in together. Which was a huge red flag for me. I asked her to introduce me to him or perhaps we could all do something together, but she refused. Which was odd. She wound up staying where she was and I found out through my daughter that this partner had moved into their home. I asked mom about this and she said yes, he lived there. But only when my daughter was there so they could get to know each other. This really scared me and I demanded to know who he was. She refused again and said I was out of line for demanding to know his name. Then my daughter informed me that her partner's 19-year-old son also lived in the apartment. About 2 months later my daughter said that they were wrong and this guy was actually just the partner's friend and that mommy and her partner got in a big fight about it because he had lied about the relationship. This whole thing ruined our co-parenting relationship and we started fighting like crazy. I didn't want to have to go to court, so I suggested that my co-parent and I attend counseling sessions with a specialist to learn to co-parent together again. We attended about 6 sessions together and the conclusion came to was that the only issue was her flat refusal to give me any information about this guy whatsoever in her defense of his identity. The counselor made it very clear that I had every right to know who was sharing a home with my daughter. The counselor convinced mom to at least introduce him to me. So mom brought him with her when we did an exchange. I introduced myself to him and shook his hand. He was about 7 inches taller than me, far more fit and would obviously destroy me in a physical confrontation. Yet he refused to make any eye contact with me. He shook my hand and then ran back to the car. The entire time we were in counseling mom said over and over again our daughter was safe and this partner was the kindest and gentlest person she had ever been with and couldn't hurt a fly. Our parenting plan doesn't say anything about having to disclose the identities of partners and my daughter had nothing bad to say about the guy, so I had to let it go for a bit. The final straw came when my daughter made a comment to me about the kind of car the guy drives. I didn't really think much about it. I don't ask her questions about the guy or pry because I don't want to involve my daughter in all this. I just make sure she is comfortable coming to me if anything is happening. Well, a few weeks later my daughter disclosed to me that her mom had found out that she had made this comment about the car he drives and screamed at her for telling me this useless information about him. And then the very next day they went and bought him a new car. This scared me to death because it became very clear something was being hidden in this. Wasn't just a matter of wanting privacy or enforcing boundaries. So I did an investigation, found his social media and then hired a private investigator to reveal his identity. Once I got his name I did the normal searches for arrest records and found a history of domestic violence. One case was from 2021 and involved felony assault with a deadly weapon, kidnapping, robbery and battery on a household member. All felonies other than the battery charge. All of these charges had been dismissed. There was an older case for domestic violence from 2010 as well. But the most concerning ones were 2 cases of battery on a household member that took place when they were together and living in the same home as my daughter. These had also been dismissed. I did a public records request to get the police reports for these 2 incidents. On one occasion they were having an argument and he grabbed her by the neck and slammed her down. Then he pulled her across the room by her hair, ripping a chunk of it out. On another occasion they were fighting and he struck her across the face. When she tried to FaceTime her dad to help her, he ripped the phone out of her hand and hit her again. The dad was listed as a witness. He was arrested both times but the cases were later dismissed. My daughter was not present for either of these incidents. For one she was with me and the other she was at school. Before I knew she wasn't there, I sent a text message to my co-parent and asked her if our daughter was in the home when he choked her. At first she denied that any of this happened. But when I gave her the date of the incident that happened when our daughter was at school, then she admitted that it had happened. But it was actually just a misunderstanding. I informed her that I had the whole police reports and knew everything about the incident. She assured me that the whole thing was actually her fault as she is the one that escalated it. But she assured me that none of this happened when her daughter was in the home. That's when I looked closer at the police report and saw that it happened in the AM and not in the PM when our daughter was not there. I told her that I had serious concerns about our daughter living in a home with someone that has a history of domestic violence even if there were no convictions. She told me the reports only tell one side of the story and that he was not the aggressor. But then I told her that I had requested and would be reviewing the body cam footage of the incidents. She flipped out on me and accused me of stalking her and demanded to know how I got her partner's information. I simply told her all of this stuff was public record and I had every right to access it. She then hung up on me and informed me she would be calling the police to report me for stalking and that it was incredibly inappropriate to look into things that had nothing to do with our daughter. No police came to talk to me or anything. She called me a few days later and I informed her that I needed a promise from her that if there is ever any arguing in the home of any kind that she is to send me a text message with a code word and I would discreetly pick our daughter up without asking questions about what the situation is. And I told her my only interest is in making sure our daughter does not witness any violence. She agreed to this and promised she would. But at this point I don't trust her at all. And I worry that her priority is protecting her partner instead of our daughter or even herself. I will be taking her back to court. But I have no idea where or how I will afford an attorney, so I'm trying to work things out. But she is insisting that I am completely overstepping boundaries and that none of this is any of my business. She also says that if I take her back to court she will tell them that our daughter is not actually my daughter biologically. Which is something we have known since she was 2 years old. That's the whole reason the relationship ended. And it doesn't really matter at this point. I am my daughter's legal father and am on the birth certificate and have acted as dad since before she was even born. She also says that I will lose because I don't respect her privacy enough. Please give me some perspective here. Have I overstepped my place? I think I may have overstepped a bit by hiring the private investigator. But the aim was only to protect my daughter. And I feel like based on what I learned,